1,000 years ago, on nights when the northern air was crisp and the seas quiet beneath the stars, the people of the Viking Age lay down to sleep. Their homes were simple, wooden walls glowing with the warmth of the hearth, while outside stretched the hush of fields, forests, and endless sky. Sleep came to them without struggle, as steady as the tide and as generous as the long winter darkness. Without glowing screens, without ticking clocks, without the pull of restless worries, their dreams drifted open like sails against a gentle wind. They lived close to the land, guided by sun and season, and because of this, rest was as natural as breathing. And now, here we are together, you and I, stepping quietly into that calmness. My name is Emma, and I will be your storyteller tonight. This is not a story to awaken the mind, but a story to ease it, to give your thoughts something gentle to follow until they loosen their grip and you are carried away toward sleep. You don't have to hold on, you don't have to keep track. Just listen as my voice guides you with patience, like a lantern through the dark. This is Sleeping Therapy by Emma. Here, every word and every image is chosen with care, shaped to soothe you into peace. Tonight, I invite you to wander into the world of the Vikings, but not their battles, not their conquests. Instead, into their evenings, their firesides, their beds of wool and linen, their easy surrender to night. People in Viking times slept better than you, and through this gentle journey, perhaps their wisdom of rest will quietly find its way into you too. The night was beginning its slow descent upon the northern fjords, not rushed, but lingering the way only evenings in Viking lands could linger. The sun never fell quickly here. Instead, it stretched out its final light across sky and water, as though reluctant to surrender to the dark. The horizon glowed faintly with a band of fading gold before yielding to deep, pure blue, and above it all, stars crept forward, sharper and clearer than any you have ever seen in your own time. That was the gift of a world untouched by the hum of electric lights. Every point of the sky shone in its own proud brilliance, mirrored by the still surface of the water below. You walk along a simple path leading between wooden homes. The roofs were thatched, thick with turf pressed into place, so that in summer small flowers sometimes grew atop them, and in winter a blanket of snow sealed the warmth inside. Tonight the roofs gleamed faintly silver under the rising moon, appearing part of the landscape itself, as though the homes had grown out of the hill rather than been built upon it. The air smelled of pine trees from the nearby forest, smoke from hearth fires, and the unmistakable brine of the sea. Every breath filled you fully, and you realized it was not only air but calm you drew into your chest. Ahead stood the Longhouse, larger than the others, capable of hosting not just a family, but cousins, neighbors, even guests such as yourself. The wooden boards were blackened by time, yet the structure itself was sturdy, a fortress against cold winds. From the cracks of its shutters peeked golden light, warm and inviting. The closer you came, the clearer you heard it, a low hum of voices mixed with the steady, rhythmic popping of firewood. When you stepped inside, you were embraced at once by warmth. Not simply the physical warmth of flame, but a different kind. The warmth of togetherness, of lives gathered close against darkness. In the center of the hall glowed the hearth, its flames licking upward toward a vent in the roof. Shadows climbed and stretched along beams above, weaving patterns that fluttered like silent birds. Around the edges of the fire sat men, women, and children, some cradling bowls of stew thick with fish and barley, others leaning on their elbows in the easy tiredness that follows a long day. There was no hurry here. Meals were not rushed, and conversations were not clipped. Words flowed lazily, broken by laughter, then by long pauses in which no one demanded to be heard. The elder in the corner lifted his voice in a half-sung, half-hummed tune, one of those melodies that had no real beginning or end, but circled back upon itself like waves on the shore. The children near him yawned at its familiarity, lulled by how deeply the sound belonged to these walls. The Longhouse smelled of wood smoke, dried herbs hanging from beams, woolen blankets, and salted fish. It was not a fragrance meant to impress, yet somehow it wrapped itself around you like an old cloak, grounding you. You did not need perfumes or polished shine only, the sense of honest living, which carried both earth and hearth together. Along the edges of the hall were sleeping platforms. Neatly laid across them were woven blankets of wool, layered thick, and atop those, soft furs from reindeer, deer, or even bearskins. Each one was a nest, a small cocoon for the body to sink against. At some places, children had already curled into theirs, blinking slowly while clutching scraps of cloth or carved wooden toys. A mother bent to adjust a blanket across her child, her gesture so tender that even in its ordinariness it seemed profound. She smoothed the furs, kissed the small brow, and returned silently to the fire. The rhythm of the household eased with each passing breath. Outside, night deepened. Inside, each word, each sound gradually diminished. The mood was not one of urgency, no late-night schedules, no alarms to set. Rest was not carved from fleeting moments. It was the natural continuation of day. And with it came something modern hearts often overlook. Permission. Permission to stop. Permission to be still. Permission to believe nothing is demanded of you until the morning sun decides to rise. One of the men chuckled as he tossed a small log into the fire, but even laughter seemed to grow gentler here, draped in softness as though the night hushed it. A few finishing sips of ale passed from hand to hand, but the weight of sleep was stronger than any drink. People gathered closer to their beds. The murmur of conversation splintered into only whispers, then sighs, then silence. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, night folded itself into every corner of the house. You too are offered a place to lie. Your bedding is a combination of straw beneath to cushion the body, heavy woven wool to hold heat, and atop it all, a pelt from some winter-caught animal thick, warm, and grounding. When you lower yourself into it, the earthiness greets you with a familiarity that no mattress of your time could match. Each fiber seems to whisper back to you, "Here, rest here." You are held. The Longhouse dims. The fire collapses into embers, glowing red like slow-beating hearts. A shaft of moonlight sneaks through the vent above, tracing the outline of beams high above. Your ears attuned to new music now, the gentle breathing of dozens around you, the rustle of someone shifting in their bedding, a faint creak of wood as the house adjusts in the cold. None of it disturbs you. Each sound becomes a note in a collective lullaby. You realize you are not falling asleep reluctantly. You are being drawn steadily, as surely as the tide is drawn to the shore. There is no battle, no anxiety of when will I drift off. There is only surrender, soft and total. You are not alone in your surrender. Everybody here, from infant swaddled in fur to elder whose breaths are slower but steady, offers themselves to the same rhythm, the rhythm of the earth. The Viking people knew this rhythm. They did not shape time with clocks and wires. They yielded to nature's clockwork instead. Dawn would come when the sky allowed, not when an alarm demanded. So rest came readily, because sleep was not cut short, nor bargain with it was whole. And now, here with them, you remember what wholeness feels like. Your eyes already blur with heaviness. The shadows above twist themselves into shapes both ancient and gentle shields, branches, wings. Your chest rises slower, falls lower. The pelts weigh upon you like safety incarnate, and everywhere within the whole, life exhales together as though one great being breathes you all into sleep. And so you close your eyes, you belong here, you rest here. You too are part of this gentle night that has welcomed so many before you and will welcome countless after. The Longhouse is still now, wrapped firmly in the rhythm of sleep. The sounds of the day have drained away, leaving only the intimacy of quiet breathing and faint crackles from lingering embers. At first, it surprises you how comfortable this silence feels. In your own world, silence is often strange, something people try to fill, like an empty jar begging for stones. But here in the Viking night, silence is not emptiness, it is richness. It is full, brimming with presence. You turn your head slightly, eyes closed, listening. Someone exhales nearby, and you hear the air move like a tide in and out of their chest. A shift of weight creaks the wooden beams beneath the furs, but the sound vanishes almost instantly, absorbed by the weight of the house. Even the sigh of the wind seeping through the vent above carries a softness, a lull as old as the forest outside. The fire has burned down to embers now, glowing more than burning, pulsing red like small sleeping hearts gathered in a circle at the center. Their light brushes the beams of the Longhouse walls with gentle fingers, and the shadows pulse in tune, expanding and shrinking like breath itself. The shadows are alive but not threatening. They sway slowly, keeping watch over the sleepers. It is here, in this half place between consciousness and dream, that you begin to feel the weight of the night filling you completely. Your body is warm beneath the layers of wool and fur, heavy enough to anchor you, but not so heavy as to suffocate. The pelts feel like guardians drawn from the wild layers of Earth's creatures, lending their strength now. Not for the hunt, not for survival, but for peace. You are embraced utterly. As you rest in this embrace, your thoughts become less like thoughts and more like drifting wisps of light. You picture the fjord outside, its waters painted silver by moonlight. You see the crisp edges of mountains across the horizon, dark against the sky. The forests beyond sway gently. All of this continues just beyond these walls, and somehow you are part of it all, even as you lie here, resting. The Vikings, too, lay knowing the same. Their lives were hard in ways yours may not be. The strain of winter storms, the labor of field and ship, the ever-present unpredictability of nature. Yet their nights were stronger because of it. They yielded to what they could not control and trusted sleep to renew them. Instead of fighting the night, they leaned into it. Perhaps that was their hidden wisdom, to see sleep not as wasted time but as life itself, joined today as inseparably as shore to sea. As these thoughts drift lazily, you notice something else. Dreams have begun to sprinkle themselves through the room. Though silent, they are almost palpable. You sense the child mirrors to you, dreaming of summer grass fields, stretched high enough to hide in, laughter carried on the wind as other children give chase. His lips twitch into a half smile, even as his body lies still, curled in the furs. An elder in the corner is lost in voyage again. His breath deepens, chest rising and falling as if in rhythm with an invisible tide. In his mind, sails swell with icy wind, ships cut black water, gulls cry overhead. Yet there is no fear there, no peril, only the remembrance of adventure turned soft by age. His dream is not war or victory, it is rhythm and belonging. And then, nearer the fire, a mother slumbers across from her children. Her face is layered with calm, the kind of relaxation that can only come at the end of a long day of labor once her family, too, has been put safely to rest. Perhaps her dreams are humble a house tidy, a harvest plentiful, or the small contentment of weaving long strands of linen without interruption. Dreams not of distant grandeur, but of the nearness of enough. The longer you linger in this space, the more you see that dreaming is not separate here. It isn't an isolating act, like stepping into your own private chamber. It is communal, a shared surrender woven from many breaths, many hearts beating in sync. Dreams become less individual and more like one great fabric stretched across the sleepers, a blanket invisible but deeply felt. You too are gathered in this weave now, your own imaginings joining the pattern silently, without resistance. You sense the pull to wander further, rise softly in imagination only, and step outside the Longhouse. You do not disturb anyone you're leaving is more of spirit than of flesh, and when you push the wooden door outward, the cool night greets you instantly. The air is sterling at first, crisp against your cheeks, but within it hides a clarity that instantly refreshes. The fjord lies before you, silvered entirely beneath the wide wash of moonlight. It glimmers silently, water so calm it reflects the stars like polished metal. The sky here is vast wider than you can comprehend fully. Every star glows fiercely, unbothered by the absence of artificial light. Constellations ancient and unknowable keep their guardianship above. Some of these very points of light have guided Viking ships. Some have guided their stories. Tonight, they guide only rest, whispering softly to the dreamer within you. You walk along the shoreline. The pebbled beach crunches faintly beneath your steps, each sound hollow and fleeting across the great silence. You see the tall silhouettes of pine trees leaning inward, their branches whispering against one another as though conspiring with the wind. The forest is alive, but alive in restful communion, not in chaos. Even the owls remain hushed for now, content to wait for deeper hours. It occurs to you that the Vikings did not find wilderness frightening the way some do today. Nature was not out there, it was here, always intertwined with their homes, their food, their lives, their very bodies. And so sleeping against it, with its sounds seeping through cracks and vents, was not disturbance but reassurance. The Longhouse was not a wall against nature, but a place built into its embrace. Sleep came not in spite of the world, but with it. You step no farther, for the cold asks you gently to return. But the vision lingers as you retrace your way into the hall, into your bed of fur and wool. Sleep welcomes you once more without question. By now, every breath in the house is part of the same song, the sound of many people trusting one another. And trusting the night, your thoughts flicker dimly. In your world, nights collapse quickly, carved thin against obligations. Every hour slices thinner by screens, alarms, deadlines. Here, hours are whole. They stretch long, letting bodies and dreams fill them completely. You realize this deep truth. The Vikings did not sleep better than you because they had softer beds or richer lives. They slept better because they allowed themselves to stop, because rest was honored, because night was not theft but gift. You too are allowed now. Safe beneath furs, gentle beneath beams woven with shadow, you allow yourself to belong again to that ancient rhythm. Here, no one demands. Here, nothing presses. Breath comes and goes. Dreams gather and disperse. The night belongs fully to you, just as it belonged to them. Your heart slows. Your chest eases. The story becomes sleep itself. For here in the Viking night, you are at last welcomed into rest as vast and eternal as the starlit sky above. The first whispers of dawn arrive quietly, almost like secrets carried on the air. In the Viking lands, morning never bursts suddenly into being. It emerges slowly, shy at first, as though testing the world before opening fully. High above the Longhouse, the stars begin to fade one by one, not extinguished but quietly bowing out, making space for the soft colors weaving along the horizon. Inside the Longhouse, the fire has long since collapsed into glowing coals. A faint gray light nudges its way through the smoke vent overhead, brushing faint silver upon the beams. The house does not stir yet, for sleep clings warmly to most bodies, encouraging stillness. The children curl tighter beneath their blankets, the elders stretch faintly without waking, and even the faithful dogs remain tucked by the hearth, tails twitching quietly in dreams. The air feels different at dawn. Nights are heavy, swaddled, wrapped like a furred cloak. Mornings are lighter, more curious. The air carries a freshness, tinged still with coolness left by the stars, yet vibrating faintly with promise. The world is waking slowly, and you are waking with it. You lie with the others, reluctant yet aware. You hear the hall shift in minute ways, the scrape of wool against wool as someone adjusts beneath their furs, The single cough of a man rising earlier than most, the soft creak of timber as the longhouse stretches itself. One of the women stirs a pot left near the coals, rekindling a faint crackle of sparks as she pokes in 2 pieces of kindling. Her movements are unhurried, unburdened. Mornings here are not calendars exploding with lists. They are transitions, patient and whole. Finally, others begin to rise. A young boy blinks open his eyes, wild hair mussed from the night. He rubs his face and smiles at the warmth of his mother's hand smoothing it. She whispers something small, perhaps of dreams, perhaps of gratitude, and eases him to sit upright. Across the hall, an older fisherman yawns deeply, rising slowly from the straw bedding, stretching until his shoulders pop faintly. His body, toughened by years of rowing and nets, carries none of the complaints about lost sleep that so many voices in your own world know. His rest restored him. He rose full. The people move one by one, quietly but with certainty. Woolen cloaks are pulled on, boots fastened. Hair is tidied with fingers or simple cones carved from bone. A baby cries faintly hungry, but the sound does not break peace. It belongs here as natural as the fire, the bird, the breeze. The mother rises, cradling, humming again that same low tune from night, steady as waves upon wooden planks. Outside, the horizon blushes brighter now, pale gold spilling like dye into the sky. The fjord receives its reflection silently, gripping the image gently upon its water. The smell of salt freshens, carried more eagerly by the breeze. And then you hear the chorus awakening beyond the human world. Gulls crying overhead, wings slicing the early light. A raven perched on a post, calling thrice impatient but brave. The subtle chatter of unseen small birds hidden among the pines. The longhouse has woken fully now. Not in a rush, not in a whirl of commotion, but in waves. One step, then another. Some leave to tend animals. You hear the faint bleating of goats as a boy opens the pen, speaking to them with familiar affection. Chickens stir, scattering with little flutters as grain is spilt before them. A woman bends at the edge of the fjord, scooping water into a clay jar, her reflection scattered with each ripple. All the while, inside the longhouse, others kneel by the fire to coax flame from yesterday's embers. They do so with patience, blowing gently, feeding it thin twigs until it stirs upright, growing once again into morning flame. Over this fire hangs a pot, into which oats and grains are stirred. The smell creeps through the longhouse, thick and nutty, carrying hints of milk nearby in wooden bowls waiting to be added. The smell pulls another round of slow yawns from those who remained curled in their furs. What surprises you is how natural the transition feels. Night slipped into sleep, sleep became dream, dream slipped into dawn, and dawn now becomes living. No part felt abrupt. Nothing startled anyone awake. Even those whose roles take them outside early stepped into it knowingly, as if their bodies rose exactly when they were called to. You rise as well, pulling the soft weight of your cloak around you. The furs roll back easily, letting your body stretch fully. The ground feels firm beneath your feet, yet welcoming. Outside the open door comes the faint chill of morning air. cool enough to bite but fresh enough to invigorate with one deep breath. You walk toward it, letting that breath fill you entirely. The chill slides into the lungs, crisp and clean, then leaves again warmer, richer. A fisherman returns from the shore, nets slung over one shoulder, empty for now. His hair is damp, his cheeks kissed red by the breeze, but his step is steady. He speaks to an elder at the door, voice low, calm. There is no panic in their mornings. If fish wait, they wait. Life bends to cycles here, not deadlines. Your gaze drifts upward to the sky. The sun is broken now, a soft round glow rising above mountain tips. Its light does not shout. It slides gently across grass and timber, coaxing dew to sparkle as though gardens of glass beads scatter across the earth. Shadows shrink, details sharpen, and all at once the world feels freshly born. Back inside, bowls are passed around. Oats, steaming and simple, are ladled carefully, shared without question. Nobody gnaws nervously at time, worrying about schedules. This is the nourishment meant for this hour. Nothing more, nothing less. The taste, when it comes to your lips, is rich and subtle flavors built from patience. A drizzle of honey softens the texture, and warmth expands steadily within your chest. You glance at those around you, men eating thoughtfully, women cradling bowls while nursing their children, children smiling softly at shared smiles. No one eats alone at a screen. No one rushes, spooning bites mechanically. Here, breakfast is not mere fuel, but ritual, slow acknowledgement that night passed safely and day now begins together. The light grows stronger. Shadows along the beams reveal the detailed carvings etched by hands long ago. Swirling knots, animals, gods, half hidden in the wood. They too keep witness as the home breathes life once again. You realize even this home is alive. It creaks, shifts, sighs, never still entirely, never hostile. It breathes just as its people do. You breathe with it. The air feels different now, less thick than night, more awake, yet still not rushed. You wonder, curiously, what dreams each of these people left behind as they stirred awake. Perhaps none will tell their dreams aloud, for Vikings believe dreams carried their own secret weight. But in their shoulders, in their eyes, and their ease, you see proof of how restorative those dreams were. Sleep had not been cut short here. Sleep was not an inconvenience here. Sleep was life preserved. And so morning birthed not sluggish bodies, but willing hands, willing feet. Work would come today, as it came every day, but it would be steady, shared, and softened by the deep nourishment of true rest. You sip your final spoonful, warmth humming through your body. Outside the sun has risen, the fjord sparkles dazzlingly, and the hum of life has begun completely now. But within you lingers still the lesson whispered by the night and revealed by the dawn. People in Viking times slept better than you, not simply because they lay in furs and silence, but because they honored rest as sacred, not optional. Dawn was not arrival with alarm, it was the graceful turning of the earth, respected completely. And now, as the morning stretches fully into being, you too are nourished by both sleep and waking. You too carry forward the truth of their rhythm, The morning has bloomed fully now. The sun leans higher over the fjord, no longer shy, but stretching across the water in long paths of gold. The mountains bask in its light, their snowy caps shimmering, their valleys slowly unrolling shadows like blankets set aside. The birds are wide awake by now. Gulls burst into laughter overhead, while songbirds hidden in tall grasses trill as though racing one another with melodies. The people of the Longhouse step into this morning with ease. There is no frantic scurry. Each person knows what must be done, but they know also that time belongs to them and to the rhythm of earth. A farmer moves to the small fields cut from the forest's edge, where patches of oats and barley bend under his inspection. His hands are rough, his back bent slightly by years, but he walks into this field not with dread, but as if greeting an old friend. Birds fling themselves from stalk to stalk, and he waves them off gently rather than in anger, knowing nature takes her share. By the shore, another man checks his nets. The ropes are heavy, damp from dew, and he drags them carefully into a neat coil. The boats rest quiet in the water, rocking faintly, tethered by ropes that creak faintly in rhythm. Their carved dragon heads, fierce emudgeons, appear drowsy in broad daylight, not hunters, but guardians. He strokes one boat's edge, speaking softly into the air, perhaps a prayer or simply gratitude that the wood still holds firm. Children scatter to their own duties, or perhaps they mingle duty with play, as they often do. One chases a chicken back into its pen, laughter echoing so brightly it dances across the entire settlement. Another girl hauls water in a small wooden bucket, pausing every few steps to marvel at her own reflection in its ripples. The bucket tips slightly, water splashing onto her bare feet, and she squeals at the cold before giggling again. Her laughter carries to her mother, who shakes her head with patience, knowing this too is part of living. The sounds of life during this Viking day are soothing in their own way. They are not metallic, not mechanical, not sharp bursts of engines or alarms. They are living sounds, the scuff of boots against earth, the splash of water poured into troughs, the rhythmic thunk of an axe biting into wood, the steady hum of voices calling from one end of the settlement to another. All of it gathers into a kind of music, unorganized yet balanced, a chorus of necessary life. You step slowly through this landscape, carrying still the peace of your night's rest. What strikes you most is not the energy of their tasks, but the serenity within them. Each duty is done with hands that do not fidget, with eyes that do not dart constantly elsewhere. The Vikings work thoroughly and then pause naturally, their bodies attuned not only to cycles of night and day, but to cycles within the day itself, exertion followed by stillness, movement followed by breath. A woman kneels by the hearth outside, preparing wool for spinning. Around her, skeins of yarn wait in small coils, dyed with herbs into earthy hues, ash gray, moss green, bark brown. Her hands move steadily, turning fleece into cord again and again. Yet she is not hurried. Next to her sits another woman, working a separate pile, the two of them speaking softly between silences. Sometimes they say nothing for entire minutes, and in that quiet you hear only the wool moving, the gentle breath of the breeze. They do not fill the silence nervously. Silence here belongs. Under the mid-morning sun, the community begins to fill with traces of cooking again. A pot is set upon an open fire, broth gently bubbling as herbs are dropped one by one into the waves. The air blooms with fragrance rosemary, perhaps, or dill, each carried eagerly on the warming wind. The smell is at once grounding and mouth-watering, tying every movement back again to nourishment. Food, rest, work, all of these flow together, none overpowering the other. You wander toward the forest edge where a group of men split logs. The rhythm is steady. Axe rises, arc glints, axe falls. The sound is sharp but not harsh, deep like a drum. Chips scatter across the ground, and the smell of pine resin fills the nostrils. When one man tires, another steps in with no rush, letting the tired one wipe his brow and sit briefly upon a stump. They share a small leather flask of water, passing it easily. The pause not an interruption, but a natural seam woven into the day's cloth. Further up the hill, children weave stories as intricate as any saga, their imaginations sharper than swords. Two boys thrust sticks as if they are spears, yet their giggles betray how little real battle resides in their game. Across the meadow, a girl gathers wildflowers into a braid, crowning herself as a queen of her tiny kingdom, proud and upright. Their shouts and laughter rise into the air like birds taking flight, but never break the harmony of the settlement. Joy here belongs as purely as labor, tied together like threads of the same rope. Above it all, the sky grows wider, clouds drifting lazily across, their shadows painting the fjord in wandering shapes. The sun is not punishing, yet it blesses more than burns, its warmth coaxing muscles to loosen instead of strain. The water sparkles as if thousands of coins have been scattered across its surface, a treasure offered freely. You stand by the shore and let the cool mist lick against your skin. Just as last night offered you the comfort of silence, the day now offers the comfort of motion, steady, measured, never frantic. A fisherman returns with a handful of small cod glistening in his net. They slap faintly, tails flashing, and he thanks the sea in a low murmur. Gratitude flows naturally for him, not as ritual but as reflex. His children run forward, squealing partly at the fish, partly at the excitement of a return. They follow him back to the hearth, where the catch will be cleaned and stewed. Even this simple task becomes part of the life song here, unremarkable yet essential. As noon approaches, shadows shrink beneath your feet. The air is warm, humming now with insect buzzes. People gather again near the hearth, bowls and platters passed in a leisurely circle. Those who carried wood sit beside those who spun wool. Those who fished sit beside those who tended animals. None eats in isolation. Work, though divided, always weaves itself back into shared pause. When you bring broth to your lips, the taste is earthy and balanced, the herbs mingling with fish in a simple but sustaining harmony. What lingers with you is not only the taste, but the rhythm, how naturally work yielded to stopping, how fluidly the settlement knew when to breathe. No one on their own clock. Each pulse of the community followed the larger pulse of the world itself. Rest was not reserved only for night. Rest here came in moments, snatched openly through the day, woven into long stirs of a pot, into leaning upon an axe handle, into brief unspoken silences that carried their own kind of relief. And so, by the midpoint of the day, though much has been done, no one is exhausted. Bodies are strong, breaths even. Shadows shorten, but none rushes in desperation. Time here is not scarcity, it is abundance. You see again the truth you have been shown since the night began. The people of Viking times slept better, not only because their nights were whole, but because their days knew balance. They did not fight against the natural rhythms. They bent with them gracefully. Work was paired with pause, just as night is paired with day, just as silence is paired with sound. And the settlement breathes in unison, teaching you now, through its quiet example, that life itself becomes healing when lived in rhythm. The day drifts onward, following its patient course like a river that bends without resistance. The sun, once poised proudly overhead, begins slowly to bow once more. At first it is hard to notice, the light seems steady, eternal, but gradually you see the shadows lengthen across the earth, stretching out like arms ready to embrace the night. Up in the hills, the children still play, now with gentler movements, their energy softened by the passing of hours. One girl gathers the last of her wildflowers, weaving them into a crown that rests lightly upon her tangled hair. Boys who challenged one another with sticks now sit in the grass, carving figures with knives, each shaving of wood spiraling into the ground like curls of sunlight turned solid. The land hums quietly around them, the gentle stir of breeze through barley, the distant caw of a raven drifting slowly homeward. Men return from labor, carrying small bundles of wood slung over shoulders, pitchers of water balanced at their sides. Their boots crunch upon paths taken countless times before, worn deep by steps of ancestors who knew the same rhythm. Women gather baskets of herbs, wool, or food saved from the afternoon meal, speaking softly among themselves with the familiarity of people who spend their days not apart, but in constant company. The Longhouse waits ahead, smoke already curling upward, marking the gathering place where life reweaves itself tightly as the day thins out. The sky begins to shift, still bright, but less intense. A thin glaze of orange warms the horizon, tinting the ridges of the mountains and gilding the ripples of the fjord. Each ripple holds a secret blaze of light, almost as though the water has caught fragments of sun to carry into night. When the people step inside their home, they do not bring with them the frantic weariness that many in your time know. They return with composure, with satisfaction. Backs may ache, hands may carry scratches, muscles may ache faintly, but these are honest aches, the kind born from balance, not frenzy. They enter wearing the day's efforts as proudly as their cloaks, knowing rest waits as reward. Inside, the hearth is already stirring, coaxed back from afternoon stillness into new flame. Sparks leap, logs catch, and soon flame licks and cracks in lively song, lighting the Longhouse in waves of gold once again. Shadows spread across the timber beams, but tonight they seem softer, less mysterious, more like companions slipping back into place. The air grows warmer, the smell of cooking flickering through the hall. Meals are simple but deeply grounding. Bowls of fish stew mixed with herbs, loaves of coarse bread, slabs of cheese preserved carefully from past months. These flavors are not abundance for its own sake. They are sustenance, steadying. Hands move slowly, scooping broth with carved spoons, tearing bread to dip into it, speaking occasionally but often falling into quiet presence. The children eat quickly at first, then sink lazily against mother's shoulders, their movements growing sluggish with satiation. The air hums with comfort, the mix of voices, fire crackle, the occasional bark of a dog shifting near the doorway. Someone hums again a Segal-like tune, this time joined by another voice, then another, until half the room hums softly along. It is not performed for attention, but shared, belongs to this hour. The melody acts as a bridge, carrying minds away from the sharpness of daylight into the softness of night. The Longhouse, alive with sound and smell, becomes its own universe, safe, enclosed, entire. Outside, night continues its slow arrival. The sky deepens into purple line by line, while the sun melts further beneath the mountain's edge. Stars wait patiently to reclaim their stage, preparing to scatter again across the widening darkness. The fjord ripples calmly, cradling the last of daylight like a mother rocking her infant. Inside, the meal finishes. Bowls are stacked neatly, scraps carried aside. The children now drowse openly, their noise reduced to the faint murmur of half play, half dream. Their bodies curl instinctively upon benches as peace thickens around them. Parents exchange tired smiles, smiles not strained, but soft as if lit from within by the flame of quiet satisfaction. Now begins the part of evening that lingers between wakefulness and sleep. Some gather closer around the fire, leaning against one another, trading stories. Here, history travels as much through night as through daytime labor. A grandfather recalls a voyage once taken long before, his words deliberate, his tone steady, the room hanging gently on each syllable. The story is not rushed or dramatized, it flows like the fjord itself, a current stronger than the body but softer than sleep. The younger ones let his voice carry them toward their own drowsy waves. Stories are more than entertainment in this hall, they are binding. They gather each listener into the same fabric, weaving memory, wisdom, pride, sorrow, wonder all together. They act like dreams spoken aloud, dreams gifted into other hearts, so that by the time silence creeps back into the cracks of the room, everyone has carried a small fire within themselves. You too feel that fire flicker inside you. The story, the warmth, the closeness, all of it presses into you like fur upon the skin, grounding your body further. Your thoughts wander, not sharply, not insistently, but like smoke rising from the fire, slow, curling, dissolving. Already you feel yourself drifting with the others into the in-betweenity of night's embrace. The mother nearest you strokes her child's hair with slow fingers, humming under her breath. An elder has leaned back with arms folded, his head dropping slightly, breaths already deeper, slower. The fire wavers, tilting shadows upon the beams like ancient runes, slowly written and rewritten across the walls. Even the dogs curl closer now, paws tucked against noses, tails brushing in small movements of half-dream. Evening carries a magic all its own in Viking halls. It is not indulgent, not excessive, not marked by distractions. It is transition, honored as carefully as morning. The world outside grows dark, but inside the people grow still, returning themselves to the ancient, timeless rhythm that nature requires of all day into night, work into rest, body into stillness. You lie back upon your bedding once again, fur folded upon you, wool pressed gently against the skin. The straw beneath is fragrant with earth, reminding you where you are held. The fire's warmth stretches across your body, its glow pinching your eyelids lower, heavier. The elder's story slows into silence. The hall becomes a cocoon again, filled only with sighs and heavy exhales. You feel the rhythm, not only of your own heart, but of the hall's heart, a pulse made of many breaths beating as one. You realize, nestled within this rhythm, that rest is not merely the absence of work, it is a ceremony, one repeated daily, as sacred as sunrise, as inevitable as tide. And so you surrender to it, body listening more, the world around softening, the edges of vision blurring until even firelight seems like a dream itself. Outside, the stars are spreading fully now, guardians of the Viking night. Inside, eyelids close one by one until only embers glow awake. And slowly, like a whisper too vast to hold alone, all within the hall are guided into slumber's gentle passage once again. The Longhouse has closed its eyes. The fire is no longer flame but ember, a circle of faint red hearts pulsing in the ash. Their glow is too soft to banish the darkness, but strong enough to remind you that warmth lingers still. Above, shadows gather and fill the beams, swallowing the carvings until the gods and creatures vanish into wood and silence. Outside, the night takes its throne fully at last. The settlement sleeps. Breaths fill the Longhouse in waves, deep, steady, unhurried. Some are fast and small children clinging still to half-dreams. Others are slower, heavy like stones placed gently into water. Together they make a tide of life, back and forth, rise and fall. It hums just beneath hearing, a quilt of sound made not by effort but by surrender. You lie there with them, your own chest gaining that same hushed rhythm. Your body has already given in. Muscles softened by the fire earlier now sink entirely, bones cushioned by wool and pelt, the very straw beneath them pressing with a quiet firmness. The air smells of faint smoke and pine. The last flavors of stew mingle lightly but don't cling. Everything about this moment tells you, stop, and begin resting. For this is the time of deepest night, not of danger, not of worry, but of trust. In a world so close to the wilderness, these people might have lived with hardship, yet they gave themselves wholly to night. They could not fight its arrival, so they welcomed it instead, and in that welcome lived their strength. You drift into their dream world now. At first it is quiet, filled only by sensation, the faint breeze sliding through the vent above, brushing against your cheek like a cool hand, the tickle of fur at your chin, the heaviness of blankets pressing into your legs. Behind closed eyes, colors begin to stir faintly, dark blues deepening, hints of pale silver, shapes without edges that melt into one another like ripples merging. These are the preludes to dream, the places between thought and imagination. And then, without knowing the moment it happens, you are within their dreams. You walk the halls of imagination, not alone, but among many. Each sleeper you share this house with becomes a star in this inner sky, each with their own glow, but stitched together into one great constellation, the elder dreams of the sea, as you sensed before. He walks the deck of a ship that glides across waters as smooth as glass. His shoulders are squared, not bent with age. His beard is dark again, his eyes sharp as he gazes toward the eternal horizon. Yet there is no battle here, no storm, only stillness upon stillness as stars guide his course. You feel the calm of his voyage ripple outward, touching all of you, carrying you also across that sea. The child nearest him drifts into fields of gold. Endless meadows spread beneath a summer sun, where grass is high enough to hide a small figure leaping joyfully, arms raised like wings. Laughter bursts across the dreamscape, free and unworried, painting its color into the weave of the communal night. You almost laugh as well, feeling the bounce of his joy in your bones. A woman dreams beside her family, not of grandeur, but of protection. She dreams her home stretching taller, stronger, timbers glowing from within, beams growing into living trees, their leaves unfolding across the rafters. The dream is one of safety, an endless home that nurtures not only her children, but generations yet unborn. That sense of nurture pools like water, spilling into your own dream, and you feel its sweetness settle like honey in your chest. This is the miracle of such a night. Though each dream is private, they mingle, they overlap. The Longhouse hums like one great body, vision weaving with vision, peace strengthening peace. The Viking night outside deepens further. The stars gather in riotous multitudes, diamond after diamond spread across the velvet dark. The northern sky has always been generous, and tonight it spills countless fires across its domed ceiling. Some blaze bright as lanterns, others shy, but all together they are more than number, more than word, more than the mind can hold. The moon sails high too, its reflection stretched into long silver ladders upon the fjord. The water is so calm it mirrors sky almost perfectly. You would not know earth stood between heaven above and heaven below. And there, beyond the Longhouse walls, forest trembles faintly. Its great pines sway like silent priests engaged in unbroken prayer, chanting in a language only wind can carry. From their branches call the faint cries of owls or the rustling of night creatures moving cautiously along the ground. Yet their sounds do not disturb. They belong to the order of night, as rightful as the stirring of embers within. The Vikings who lie here knew these sounds and trusted them, cradled by them. For in trusting the night offered back peace. The dream deepens again. This time you find yourself crossing into your own vast vision. Not sea, not meadow, not hall, but sky. You float above the fjord among the stars themselves. They cluster around you, friendly, welcoming, patient. They seem less distant here and more like companions of the soul. You stretch your hand, one glimmers brighter, and though you cannot touch, you feel a warmth radiate anyway, a warmth that runs down your arm, filling chest and heart. It reminds you of something essential, your place within the endless cycle, small yet belonging. From above, you gaze down upon that same longhouse where your body rests. A soft golden glow pours faintly from its smoke vent, a beacon against the deep blue. You realize the longhouse itself is dreaming too. Not only the people within, but the structure, the beams, the stone hearth, the roof of turf, all weave their presence into this vast night. It dreams of holding safely. It dreams of continuity, of standing against storms for yet more winters, of cradling generations yet unknown. Even shelter has spirit here. The dream shifts again as time does, unseen but inevitable. Hours stretch and still the hall breathes evenly. No lamp interrupts, no alarm fractures silence. Rest rolls on uninterrupted as it was meant to. This alone explains so much, for when rest is whole, day becomes whole. When night is generous, strength in daylight follows naturally. You realize now why they slept better than you. It was not only because of absence of screens, absence of noise, but because of presence of togetherness, presence of honest labor, presence of trust in the cycles beyond control. These presences filled their dreamscape with steadiness, their waking hours with flow, their bodies with the kind of peace that cannot be borrowed but only lived. A sigh escapes your chest even now. You are lying heavy in the dream night, but already it feels restorative. Already you feel the way morning will greet these people with quiet readiness. Sleep is not pause here, it is renewal, almost rebirth, the earth whispering into them its strength again. Back in the hall, you turn faintly beneath your furs, though your mind still drifts in dream. The straw crinkles softly beneath you, the wool shifts against your shoulder, the draft of cool air curls along the floor. These sensations are not intrusions, they are lullabies. And with each notice, you fall deeper once more, surrendering more profoundly to the rhythm shared by all. Outside, the moon begins to descend. The stars rotate slowly, carrying time with them. The northern night is long, yet the journey of time continues regardless. Soon, dawn will come again, surprising the fjord with its blush of light. But for now, still long hours away, you rest. You rest entirely among them. Sleep's tide holds you completely. You are nothing but a body breathing in unison, a dream stitched in tapestry, a heart echoing within a hall of many hearts. And so the night deepens further still, drawing you into its center where nothing is demanded, only given: safety, surrender, silence. The longhouse glows, the night holds balance, and you sink finally, fully into deepest rest. At last, without announcement, without demand, the night begins to loosen its grip upon the world. It does not flee or vanish, it yields, slowly, gracefully, like a blanket being drawn back by quiet, caring hands. The fire has died almost completely, coals turn to ash, their warmth now gentle whispers fading into gray. Yet even in that fading, safety lingers. The Longhouse has kept its promise. Darkness passed without harm. Outside, the first faint touches of dawn creep over the horizon. They spill not as torrents, but as delicate washes of color. Pale rose, muted gold, threads of lavender woven above the ridges of distant mountains. These colors arrive shyly, brushing the black sky as painters brush shadows off a canvas. Above the fjord, stars decline one by one, bowing, withdrawing to hidden chambers until the stronger glow of day takes their place. Inside, bodies still rest. The Longhouse remains heavy with breath, with sighs, with murmurs of half-dream. Some are still deep in voyages across imagined seas, others tumbling through meadows of childhood. Yet already, even without alarm, something shifts subtly in the rhythm. One man stirs, shoulders stretching. A woman lifts slightly, pulling her child closer against her chest in drowsy affection. Dogs, sensing dawn before humans do, raise their heads faintly, tails thrumming once, twice, before crowing again. Even in animal hearts, the cycle is understood. Night closes, morning opens. You too feel it inside your chest, that faint invitation to awaken, though not urgently. There is no shrill bell, no piercing tone of alarm dragging you upward. This awakening unfolds like the petals of a flower at sunrise, natural, ready, yet unhurried. You are not pulled awake, you are coaxed. You are reminded gently of the light returning, asked softly to lift your head toward it, as one might be asked to listen to a lullaby one final time before drifting away. At first, you continue to rest heavy in the wool, savoring that borderland where dream has not yet surrendered, where body is weightless and thought blurs into imagination. It is a place where you could easily slip backward into sleep again, if you wished, and you may, for there is no rush. But equally, you begin to feel curiosity stir, a wondering of what the morning's air carries, what light it paints upon the fjord, how the settlement prepares once again to rise. The elder is the first to rise with true purpose. His knees creak as he sits upright, though his face holds no sorrow in the movement. To grow stiff from long rest is no punishment. It is the gift of having rested thoroughly. He takes a moment just to sit, staring into the ashes of the hearth where stories of fire lived hours before. Then, with patience, he throws 2 pieces of wood upon the embers and blows softly. Sparks answer. Flame lifts again from the ashes, as certain as dawn returning to the hills. It is a ritual, this rekindling. Fire mirrors sun, sun mirrors fire, both keeping guardianship of life. The sound of flame stirs others, not sharply, but steadily. A woman pulls on her cloak, wraps her hair, begins to boil water for porridge. Children curl against each other reluctantly, their breaths still deep. They will not hurry. Their mothers will let them doze until bowls of warmth invite them upright. A man rises to open the heavy door, letting the first slice of dawn enter. Cool air rushes in at once, carrying fresh scents, the pine, the water, the damp earth waking after dew. You look toward that door as it opens. For a moment, your vision is filled with the world outside, the fjord now shimmering with pale gold, the mountains dressed in the glory of morning. A thin mist sits upon the fields, curling in gentle rolls across the grass before lifting toward the sky. The colors are soft but commanding all at once, a promise that the day is here not to burden but to continue. The longhouse rouses further. Clay bowls are fetched, oats stirred carefully over the fire, the soft scent of grain spreading quickly. Milk thickened from goats is poured in. A drizzle of honey softens the bowl, making the morning light taste as sweet as it looks. One child rubs eyes gradually and sits upright, offered a spoon by his brother who grins, knowing the day has begun once again, and together they will share it. The parents and elders come alive slowly. They talk lightly short words about fields, about animals, about nets on the shore. But even in conversation, there is patience. Plans do not weigh down shoulders. The day will hold what it holds, and they will carry it together. As you watch this, seated still beneath the draft of night's fading shadow, you realize once more how different your world feels compared to theirs. Day does not crash here, it seeps. Morning does not demand like a tyrant, it invites like a friend. And in that invitation lies the secret to their ease. They do not live against the flow, they live inside it, moving as morning, noon, evening, and night ask them to. Another dog pads toward the door, stretching long before tipping its ears toward the forest. It does not bark. It only gazes, alert yet content, as if reminding the others that day has begun to guard again. Its movement sets the rhythm, now the world continues. Stepping outside, you walk with the elders who begin to check the land. The mist clings faintly to your cloak before peeling away. The chill bites at your cheeks, but beneath it lies freshness so keen it tastes alive. Look carefully at the fjord, its surface no longer black, but molten with light. Each wavelet flashes white, as if each carries a tiny sunrise of its own. The mountains around seem taller, clearer, their outlines sharpened with definition. Birds arc in wide loops, wings catching the sun, their cries stacking the silence into songs. And here is what you realize as the dawn soothes itself into full day. Sleep does not end the rhythm, it completes it. The Viking night has held its promise, and now morning holds its gift. These people rise neither depleted nor frantic, but reborn. Sleep for them was not a pause, not a wasted episode, but the very root of the energy now sprouting into this new day. Their strength, laughter, and tasks will bloom because of it. They slept better than you, not because their world was easier, but because their world accepted the balance. They allowed cycles to circle whole, to end and begin without fracture. They prepared for day with full might. They arrived to life ready, not limping. And walking with them into this dawn, you feel you too are ready, yet you are not hurried. This dawn in the Viking land lets you stay slow, soft, resting as you rise, resting even as you step outward. It lets you linger in the gentle threshold where dream still whispers faintly, even as sunlight wraps the fjord in its arms. And perhaps, carried inside you now, is the shape of their old wisdom. When you trust the rhythm, you too may sleep, dream, and wake with ease. The new day has stretched itself fully across the Viking land. The mist has lifted. Fields glisten with dew that sparkles like small treasures scattered by unseen hands, and voices begin their rhythm of work. The Longhouse is awake, its fire crackling again, simple meals shared, chores guiding the flow of hours. Yet even as sunlight sharpens the world, a part of you lingers on the truth whispered by the night before. Rest is the foundation of all of this. You stand at the threshold of the Longhouse for a moment longer, gaze resting upon the fjord. Its waters reflect the clear sky now, blue upon blue, broken only by the wings of seabirds that skim its surface. A boat pushes out gently, tilting with the breath of waves, its oars dipping quietly. Life is ready to go on. And still, within your own chest, you carry the weightless fullness of a night spent in peace. For the Vikings, this was always how it was meant to be. Night was not feared, nor cut short, nor bargained away. Night was trusted. In their trust, they gain the secret many forget today, that sleep is not waste, but power. Their nights renewed their bodies, sharpened their minds, softened their tempers, and gave them the strength to meet the following day with courage. Even now, though centuries stretch long between their world and yours, the lesson remains the same. Rest is not something to scrape from the corners of time. It is something time itself provides if you allow it. Just as the fjord accepts dawn without resistance, your body accepts sleep when you release your hold. Just as the Longhouse welcomed night, holding all within one great breath of stillness, you too can welcome stillness into yourself tonight. The thought begins to blur as you return slowly, gently, once more into the Longhouse itself. For this story is not told to make you wake into rest, it is told to let you drift into it again. The cycle has circled already. Night fell, morning rose, day labored, evening gathered, midnight held, and now dawn blossomed. In this arc, you have walked with them across an entire day and night of balance. And now, your own balance waits upon you, just as surely as theirs did. Lie back once again, not within a Viking longhouse perhaps, but within the safety of your own bed. Imagine that the furs are yours to pull close, that the straw beneath is there, that the deep breathing around you continues, voices of others resting, carrying you along. Feel the fire's warmth brush across your cheeks one final time, even if it is only in memory. Let it remind you that even the smallest flame can light the heart, that even the smallest comfort can open into great peace. The Vikings knew something the world sometimes forgets now, that we are not alone in our resting. Every creature tucks itself into the cycle. Birds nest, wolves curl, trees sigh with the wind and fold their leaves against the dusk. Even the great sea quiets, rocking slower at night than it does by day. Every part of nature sleeps in its own way, and so do we. And so do you. Breathe deeply now. One long inhale, filling chest, filling belly hole gently, then release. Notice how even in your body, tides shift, waves of breath washing in and washing out. You are not separate from this rhythm, you are made of it. You are woven into the fabric of wind, water, and fire, the same rhythms the Viking people trusted long ago. And in that shared rhythm, you may rest certain, safe. Let yourself imagine once more the sound of the Longhouse at night. Let it return to you, the steady breath of many around you, Each inhalation a tide, each exhalation the returning wave. Say to yourself, I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to surrender. I am allowed to belong to this rhythm too. Above you, the stars still whisper, even if you cannot see them. Around you, shadows still soften. Within you, your body knows already what it has always known, that sleep is not something to chase. Sleep is something to allow. It arrives naturally when we make room. The Vikings did not ask, will I sleep? They did not fight with themselves and their beds. They trusted. They placed their bodies down upon earth and let the earth hold them. Tonight, so will you. Your eyes are heavy now. Your breath is slower, longer. The story has wound its course as rivers wind into seas. Nothing more needs to happen for you to drift fully. You have walked a day and a night in quiet company. You have eaten with them, dreamed with them, risen with them, and sat with them by fires and under stars. And now, like them, you may surrender to the same embrace of night. You do not need to worry what tomorrow holds. Just as dawn always comes to the fjords, tomorrow will come on its own without your effort. Your only purpose now is this: to rest, to breathe, to let go. So take these final moments in stillness. Let each word dissolve as though it is smoke rising from fire. You do not have to hold it anymore. The story is complete. The cycle is complete. Rest now, rest deeply, rest wholly. Let the wisdom of the Vikings soothe you, lull you, cradle you. They slept better than you not because they were different, but because they trusted sleep. You may trust too. You may rest too. The Longhouse is quiet again. Embers glow faint. Outside, the fjord shines softly beneath moon or sun. It matters little, for the rhythm holds true in every hour. And here you sink deeply, fully, completely, into slumber that is yours, unbroken, generous. Good night.